Welcome to another Cincinnati Reds baseball broadcast. This is DVP reporting on Wednesday, the 15th of August, 1984. This is my 27th game for the season, and it will feature the Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals in the final of a three-game series at Busch Stadium, and this will be the wrap-up to a very brief one-city road trip for the Reds. An off day tomorrow, and then they head back home to Riverfront to start up a homestand of 6 games against the Cubs and this same Cardinal clan. My last game scored was a Reds-Dodgers contest at Riverfront on August the 4th. Los Angeles won that game in 11 innings, and there have been 11 games played since then, 5 Reds wins and 6 losses, so I've got a lot of ground to cover at the front portion of this cassette. I also want to throw in a few tape-recorded radio highlights that I captured off of the airways while down at Cincinnati to witness part of that last 14-game homestand that the Reds played against 4 different Western Division opponents, and the Reds ended up splitting it. Although they won 7 of the first 11, they were able to only split at 7-7 on that homestand. I'll have 3 big home runs coming up for your listening enjoyment, as called by the great Reds broadcasting team of Marty Brenneman and Joe Nuxall. I think Brenneman's got all those highlights, but, whether Nuxall's in there, I'm not sure, but you might hear him bellowing in the background, but I'll have some highlights coming up, and I also want to take a look at some player transactions made by the Reds since the last time I was on the air on August the 4th, and of course we're following a big story right now in Cincinnati. It is rumor at the present time, but it looks like it's going to become fact tomorrow, and that is that Pete Rose will be the new player manager of the Cincinnati Reds. I tell you, that has really stunned some people, yours truly included it, and this is really amazing, and it is great. It is fantastic if it does become reality. And we're 99% sure that this is going to become fact tomorrow. It is going to be officially announced, apparently, at a 4 p.m. news conference at Riverfront Stadium. And this has been, tentatively confirmed by Bill Williams. We understand that he did talk with Marty Brenneman tonight and said that Pete Rose will be in uniform Friday against the Cubs to manage the team. And so we'll have to assume that Bill Williams isn't lying through his teeth and that Pete Rose will be the manager on Friday. And this is a interesting twist here as we head into the stretch run of the 1984 season. Of course, for the Reds, it's not much of a stretch. We're buried in 5th. We're not exactly in a pennant race, and that is one of the reasons that Vern Rapp has been let go. The primary reason, of course, if the Reds were playing as they were back in May under Rapp, when we had won 13 out of 14 in a 2-week stretch, I think Rapp would still be the manager. But Vern, saw his ball club kind of fade away into the distance in late May, and, actually early June is when the downfall started, and now Vern Rapp will be looking for employment tomorrow. It's kind of saddening the way Rapp found out about this. Apparently, he kind of found out secondhand. He heard it through the grapevine, you could say, and apparently some of the players told him about the rumors that had been circulating. They'd been spreading like wildfire in the Cincinnati area over the last few hours. And I just popped on the radio a little while ago and heard Bob Trumpy talking about this wild rumor, although it did seem wild at the time. Hadn't heard a thing about it. Pete Rose coming over to be player manager, that sounds ridiculous, but it certainly would be nice if it was true, and I thought it was just another wild rumor, as they were rumoring Concepcion to be traded to either Montreal or Philadelphia last month or the month before, and that was totally fabricated, nothing to that at all, but apparently this rumor is going to become fact, because Bill Williams has confirmed it, and he is one of the general partners of the Cincinnati Reds. He talked to some of the members of the press earlier tonight. And so Vern Rapp will be dismissed officially tomorrow. Well, that's still unofficial at this time, but Pete Rose's contract apparently has been acquired by the Reds, and we heard it a little while ago that it was going to be for a player to be named later. We'll have to wait on that and see who the player is. But Rose coming back to Cincinnati, he had so many great years with the Reds, of course. Started his career with the Reds. Of course, he was born and raised in Cincinnati, still lives in Cincinnati with his new wife, Carol, and they're expecting a baby. And it'll be quite a homecoming, and I imagine they'll pack him in for that Reds-Cubs game and the debut of Pete Rose as a Major League manager on Friday, August 17th. What a great, great move this is by Bob Howsam and Bill and Jim Williams to bring Pete Rose back to the Queen City. Of course, he left in somewhat of a huff after the 1978 season. He played out his option. He was not going to get paid the kind of money that he thought he deserved while wearing a Reds uniform, so he went elsewhere. Signed on with the Phillies, of course, became the richest player in history at that time, I think $900,000 to $1 million a year. And, of course, played out his option again, or actually was released by the Phillies, if you'll recall, after the World Series last year. Signed on for 1 year with an option for a second year with Montreal. And now his contract has been traded, or so we hear it anyway. It's been traded or sold by John McHale of the Expos to the Cincinnati Reds. And so Pete Rose back, and he'll be wearing familiar number 14 at Riverfront on Friday. And this is just a fantastic move that has the city bubbling over with joy at this present time. And we still will have to put a little bit of a asterisk behind that, saying that it's unofficial, and I'll have definite word on that in my next broadcast, but it certainly does look like it's 90% official right now because members of the Reds hierarchy are stamping this thing approved, and it's going through, such as Billy Williams. That's William J. Williams, one of the principal partners for the Reds. He's one of the main guys up there, and he says it's true, so I guess Pete's coming back, and Vern Rapp will be looking for a job come tomorrow. So welcome back, Pete Rose. That certainly will be interesting to see Rose in the dugout managing for the first time in his life. And I did think he was going to be a manager, but I didn't think it'd be before his playing days ended. He will be the first player manager since Don Kessinger, I believe, in 1979 with the White Sox. He resigned on August 2nd of that year, I believe, stepped down as a player and as a manager. I can't remember the last National League player manager, but Pete Rose will have that dual function. He'll be a pinch hitter, sometimes starter at first base, apparently, so we hear anyway on the radio. Get all that information secondhand, but apparently it's going to become official, and that'll be great to see Rose wearing a Reds uniform once again. So we've got Tony Perez back, Pete Rose back, Dave Concepcion still there. If we could get Johnny Bench to come out of retirement and maybe pluck Joe Morgan off the A's roster, we could get some more of those big red machine guys back in the Cincinnati Double Nets, and I wouldn't be surprised to possibly see Morgan come back after his playing days are over, maybe come back as a hitting tutor or a base running coach or something, but I bet he'll be wearing a Reds uniform within the next few years. Bob Howsam now back in charge. He wanted Perez, he got him. He's wanted Pete Rose apparently for some time, although we didn't hear about it. It's been kind of hush-hush, and really, I think Howsam wanted this to be a surprise. We weren't supposed to know about this at this hour here on August 15th. It was going to be a surprise at the news conference tomorrow afternoon, but information somehow leaked out. Somebody spilled the beans, and I don't know who it was, but anyway, the city is rejoicing right now because it has its number one man as far as baseball back, Pete Rose. A lot of people upset, of course, when he left. And, of course, he gets booed regularly upon coming back to Cincinnati in a different uniform, such as the Phillies and Expos. But when he is wearing that Reds uniform, and he'll be doing it apparently Friday, you can expect standing ovation after standing ovation for those first few games that he is at the helm of the Reds. A great, great move. That should turn the team around and get us a few victories. I think they'll do very well under Pete. And since he has such a knowledge of the game and a good rapport with all the players seem to like him, they respect him, and that is so important when it comes to managing a baseball team. So that's what we have right now on the Rose situation, and we certainly hope that does become fact, and apparently it's going to. Well, we have a couple more player moves here. I talked about some more player moves. I got all kinds of items in this broadcast. I'm going to have to roll along here if I'm going to get it all in. The Reds made a roster shuffle. Let me see here. During the last homestand, the Reds disabled outfielder Dwayne Walker. He was put on the 15-day disabled list with the recurrence of a former injury, a hamstring pull, that had him sidelined from mid-May to early June. Walker goes on the disabled list effective August 5th. Eddie Milner has been activated on August 6th. He was disabled the last day of June with a case of hepatitis, and he's still somewhat weak, and he'll be just spot starting, filling in center field, and doing some pinch hitting and pinch running the rest of this season, apparently. Although you don't know how Pete Rose will use Eddie Milner in the lineup. He might get a few more starts under Rose than he did with Vern Rapp, because Milner says he is getting some of his strength back. And so Milner finally activated. He did not play a single game in July. He was out from June 30 to August 5, and he's activated on the last homestand. So Walker now down for the second time. And another roster switch has Brad Leslie being optioned out. He's been farmed out to another organization, actually. At this time, he's technically Reds property, but I think we've seen the last of Brad the Animal Leslie. He has been sent to Vancouver of the Pacific Coast League. That's a Brewers AAA team. August 13th, he was sent down after compiling a not-too-hot 0-1 record and a .512 earned run average in 16 relief outings. He allowed 14 walks, 17 hits in just over 19 innings, and only struck out 7 batters and allowed 11 runs, so he was not very impressive, especially after being reacquired from Wichita the second time around on July the 11th. He's been up 2 separate times and has not done a good job. He did pick up 2 saves in his first 2 games, but none in his last 14. So Brad Leslie farmed out right-handed big right-hander Rob Robinson. I got that wrong. That's Ron Robinson, excuse me. Ronnie Robinson, recalled from Wichita August the 13th. He's a 6'4", 200-pound monster, 22-year-old righty from Exeter, California. Born on the 24th of March, 1962, in case you're interested. Have a little profile on Robinson here. And he played this year at Wichita with some distinction, had a pretty good year. I don't have accurate numbers on him, but I'll try to get him later. I do have last year's figures when he was at AA Waterbury and AAA Indianapolis, both now gone from the Red system. Waterbury, last year, Robinson was 7-9 with a .360 earned run average and 20 starts, and he had 6 complete games. Then he did a standout job with the Indianapolis Indians last year. Roy Hartsfield's Indians then. He was 4-0 with a .323 ERA for that AAA team in 4 starts, and he had 2 complete games. Robinson is a number 1 draft choice by the Reds back in June of 1980. So he gets his first chance in the big leagues, and he made his first big league appearance last night, pitching 2 no-hit, no-run innings with 3 strikeouts and 1 walk. A good job by Robinson. So Ron Robinson up, Brad Leslie down. We still have 11 pitchers. And keep in mind that Rose will assume an active status on the 25-man roster when he is acquired. His hasn't been acquired yet, but we just hear the rumors. But apparently that's going to happen. So Rose will be part of the 25-man roster. That means somebody's got to go down. I assume it will be Robinson, or possibly another pitcher. We still have 11 pitchers. I imagine a pitcher will be sent out, will be farmed out somewhere. Or maybe an infielder or outfielder go, I don't know. But I would think it'd be one of the 11 pitchers. I wouldn't think that they would drop Ted Power, John Franco, they're not going to be gone, and I wouldn't think that they would drop Tom Hume either, so I imagine Robinson would be the odd man out there. Although the way Hume has pitched this season, it might be better for everybody concerned if the Reds were to just take him and drop him off the Brent Spence or something. He's got about a 5.5 earned run average, hasn't done the job at all, but he's got a $900,000 a year contract. I imagine he'll be sticking around with us for some time to come. So when Rose joins the team Friday, something's got to give. Some players got to go. And I don't know who that is at this time. Let's see what else we have here. I think it's time to take a look at these last 11 games. Let me move along to the August 5th contest. That was a Sunday afternoon at Cincinnati against the Dodgers. Closed out the second series of that long 14-game homestand. In 11 innings, the Reds won that game 2-1 to salvage 1 game in that set. The winning run scored with 2 out in the bottom of the 11th inning on a throwing error by second baseman Steve Sachs. An infield chopper up the middle scored Cesar Cedeno all the way from second base. He motored it all the way in. Scored on the wild throw over the head of everybody by Steve Sachs. The Reds had only 3 hits in that game. 2-3-0-9 the Reds line. The Dodgers had a run, 5 hits, 2 errors, and left 4. No game-winning RBI. Skeeter Barnes a run batted in, his first of the year. And a stolen base for Gary Reedus gave him his 37th. Ted Power got the victory in relief. He's 6-5. Jerry Royce loses at 2-5. Fernando Valenzuela went 10, 2-hit, 1-run innings with 10 strikeouts. And then Royce came on to lose it. Jay Tibbs, another good outing for that young right-hander. He hasn't had a bad outing yet. 8 innings, 5 hits, a run, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. Then Bob Ochinko for 2, Ted Power for 1, and Ted gets his 6th win. He's now on more games than he did all of last year. He was 5-6 last year with a 4.5 ERA. He has turned that around into a very good 84 season as the stopper out of the Reds bullpen. 6-5 with about a .314 earned run average. 2 hours and 57 minutes for that game. A crowd of 25,302 saw it from the stands at Riverfront. No home runs in that one. Reds win it 2-1 on the throwing error in the bottom half of the 9th inning. Then the Reds started up a series of 4 against the Padres on Monday night, August the 6th. Not a very good day. Pods beat us behind the 3-hit shutout pitching of lefty Mark Thurmond and right-handed relief ace Rich Gossage. 1-0 the final. The only run came in the top half of the 9th inning, so that was a pitcher's battle, 0-0 through 8. Game-winning RBI on a single to left by Luis Salazar, his second game winner of the year. Rich Gossage wins it 6-3. Joe Price takes a complete game loss. He's 5-8. 7 hits, a run, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Good job, buddy. Absorbs another defeat. Gossage worked 2 innings, struck out 3. Thurmond, 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, and a couple of walks. 2 hours, 15 minutes, 12,322 saw it. 10,798 was the paid figure. A run, 7 hits, no errors, 8 left on for the Pines. The Reds, no runs, 3 hits, no errors, 5 left on, as the Reds are whitewashed for the 11th time this season. No homers in the game. Salazar knocks in the only one. Another 1-0 decision. The Reds have been involved in a lot of those of late. Good pitching again, but we lose the game. Good pitching, of course, by Thurmond and Gossage in that one to provide the Padres with that win, the first-place Padres. The Reds go on and win the final 3 games of that series, 8-7, 4-2, and 8-0. So we scored 20 runs in those last 3 games, and we were on our way to a pretty good homestand. On Tuesday night, August the 7th, the Reds won that game with a Nicky Saski sacrifice fly with nobody out in the bottom half of the 9th inning. That scored the winning run from third base to give Saski his 4th game-winning ribby of the year in an 8-7 Reds win. Ted Power getting his 2nd win on the homestand, 7-5 his record as he gets the victory. Andy McGaffigan started 3 2/3, didn't have a very good outing, gave up 4 runs, 8 hits, 2 walks. Bob Ochenko, then Brad Leslie, then John Franco. Franco allowed 1 unearned run in 2 1/3. 2 hours and 59 minutes to play that one. The Reds had 8 runs, 13 hits with an error, and left 10. 2 Reds home runs. Dave Parker smacked his 10th of the year. Dave Concepcion notched his 4th of the season, and his first since the 27th of April against the Giants. 7 runs, 12 hits, 1 error, 6 left on for San Diego. A Padre home run by Bobby Brown, his 3rd of the year, to nearly dead center field. And Parker's home run was a deep shot halfway up in the green seats in right field to get him into double figures and push his RBI count to 57. Concepcion's homer was a rope down the left field line that was just barely fair and just above the fence. And it hit the foul screen, and it hit the left portion of the foul screen. It looked like it hit the left tape that holds that screen up. Just barely fair and over the fence, but it counted as his 4th home run of the season. The most that he's hit, well, in a couple of years for the Reds. As I say, his first home run since late April. That was a good game for Cincinnati. Greg Harris took the loss, the former Red just recently acquired from Montreal. Harris loses. He's 0-2. A 1/3 of an inning. The run that the Reds scored in the bottom of the 9th was unearned on the sacrifice fly by Saski. A big error by Terry Kennedy. That made the run an unearned tally. Ed Whitson started when 4 1/3, then Greg Booker and Craig Lefferts, and then the former Red Harris, who took the loss. 11,767 saw that game. Oster knocked in 3 runs in that game. Concepcion, Davis, Parker, and Saski also chipped in with ribbies. The Reds win on the sacrifice fly in the 9th, 8-7 to even up that series. Now that brings us to the next day, and that would be Wednesday night, August the 8th, another 7:35 start. Reds win that one 4-2 on a big bottom of the 9th inning blast by Tom Foley off of Rich Gossage. Let's listen to that one.
Milner going. Pitch is swung on. Long drive. Right field. It's got a chance. And this one belongs to the Reds. 2-run home run by Tom Foley on a 1-0 pitch off Goose Gossage. And Cincinnati wins it in the bottom half of the 9th inning, 4-2.
Well, Gossage doesn't give up many home runs, especially to fellas like Tom Foley, who aren't exactly your great power threats. But Foley took him deep, against all odds. A shot to right field that landed in the lower deck, the blue seats, near the foul line. Big 2-run, 9th inning, 1-out home run by Tom Foley to make a loser out of Gossage, as he goes to 1-1 in the series, 6-4 on the season. He followed Eric Schau to the mound, who pitched 8 strong innings. For the Reds, Mario Soto went all the way for the 10th time to get his 12th win of the year against 5 losses. A 7-hitter, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, and he hit a batter in that game. Another complete game for Soto as he wins his 12th. 4 runs, 7 hits, no errors, 6 left on for Cincinnati. The Padres, 2 runs, 7 hits, no errors, and 7 stranded. 2 hours and 28 minutes It took to play a crowd of 11,222 on hand to see that big game-winning homer by Foley, his 4th home run of the year, his 2nd game-winning run batted in of the season. Eric Davis had an earlier home run in the Reds' 4th inning to tie it up at 1-1, and that was his 3rd homer of the season. So all the Reds' RBIs were on home runs. One of the Reds' runs not driven in. We had 3 RBIs on a solo homer by Davis and the big 2-run home run in the 9th by Foley. Gary Reedus, another stolen base, is 38th of the year to lead the team. That made it 2 straight over San Diego. The Reds made it 3 out of 4 in that series by clobbering the Pods 8-0 on Thursday night, August the 9th. And that game included this big hit by Dave Parker.
Parker waves the bat around, now waits on the 2-2 delivery. Here it is, and he swings and hits one hard to right field. It is out of here. Grand slam home run. A line drive grand slam by Big Dave Parker. His 11th home run of the season, and it was a rocket to right. His 3rd career grand slam home run, and his 1st in a Cincinnati uniform. The only question is whether or not it was high enough, and it got out of here. 4 big runs are in. The Reds lead it 7-0.
Well, the Reds at that point in the ball game were well on their way to defeating the division-leading Padres for the 3rd consecutive night. And that's exactly what happened, as we got the potent offense and also got shutout pitching from Cincinnati native Jeff Russell, as he chalks up his first major league shutout and stops a 4-game personal losing streak as he goes to 5-12 on the year with a 5-hit shutout, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts. And Tim Lawler takes the loss. He's 9-10. And he gave up that big slam that you just heard called by Marty Brenneman in the bottom half of the 2nd inning. And we scored 3 in the first, 4 in the second to lead at 7-0. 1 more run in the 6th inning. Dave Parker knocked in 5 on the day to give him 62 on the year, the most by a Reds player since Dave Concepcion had 67 and George Foster 90 back in 1981. The high water mark for either of the last 2 years has been 58 by Ron Oster last year. Parker now more than anybody for the Reds since 81. Nicky Saski, Ron Oster also knocked in runs. Parker's grand slam, as Marty said, is 3rd in his career. He had his first 2 with the Pirates. And that's his first slam, by the way. I was surprised to read since 1977 when he was a Buck. Hasn't hit a slam since 77, so he had his first one at either 74, 75, or 76, and now hits one as a Red August 9th of 84 off of Tim Lawler. He gets a left-handed pitcher as he pulls him deep to right field. A rocket line drive, a bullet, a seed, an aspirin, however you want to say it. A shot that just did clear the fence in right field. It hit against the blue seats and bounded behind the fence. Grand slam homer. Parker did get the ball back. He wanted to keep that. His first slam as a Red, his 11th home run of the year to lead the team. And he was having some kind of a series. That was his 2nd rocket home run. He had a mammoth green seater on August 7th, comes back 2 days later with 5 RBIs, another big home run. So 2 homers and 7 RBIs in a 3-game period against the Padres for Dave Parker, August 7, 8, and 9. So he was getting it done. But he's been in somewhat of a slump since that time. There was no game-winning RBI in that contest. The winning run scored actually in the 1st inning as a result of something other than an RBI. Possibly that error by Alan Wiggins led into it. The Reds had 8 runs, 7 hits, no errors, and left 6. The Padres, no runs, 5 hits, 1 error, and left 9. Russell 5-12, the winner, and Lawler takes the loss. 6 innings, 6 hits, 8 runs, 7 earned, 7 big walks, and 5 Ks. Several walks hurt him. I think possibly the bases were loaded on walks before Parker lit up the boards and right with the slam. The 2nd grand slam by a Red this year. That equals last year's team total. Nicky Saski had one off Bob James of Montreal back in April. And as we say, Parker's 3rd in his career. Somewhat surprising he doesn't have more than that, but he has not hit a whole lot of home runs. That would be, I think, number 177 in Parker's career, and 3 of those have been with the sacks loaded. Big hit by Parker, and I was able to capture it off of the Reds Radio Network on Scores and Comments, thank goodness. Let's see, what else do we have here? 2 hours, 11 minutes for the time for that game. 16,697 total in the house, 10,881 paid. And that brings us to the next day's games, I should say. A doubleheader of the makeup variety on Friday, August 10. First game went to the Reds to stretch a winning streak to 4. 5-4 the final on this big blow by Skeeter Barnes.
And Solano bringing it up there, and Barnes hits one back into deep left field, and this one belongs to the Reds. First pitch hitting, Barnes ignites the crowd with a home run to left field, his first of the season, his second in the major leagues. The fireworks are going off overhead, and Skeeter has lit them up with a 12th inning leadoff home run to give the Reds a 5-4 victory.
Well, that's what it sounded like at Riverfront last Friday night. First game of the twilight doubleheader against the Houston Astros. They had to play two that night because of a May 3rd rainout at the stadium. One of 4 rainouts the Reds have suffered this year, 2 of those at Riverfront. And the Reds won it in the 12th inning on a first pitch leadoff home run by Skeet Barnes. As William Skeeter gets his first game-winning RBI in the major leagues, he was the star of the game for the doubleheader. The Reds ended up splitting it as the Astros bombed us in that second game. And, boy, it was a long day at the park. 11-7 the final in that second one. And the Reds win another extra inning encounter. They've been playing some extra inning games of late. And that was a big contest for the crowd to witness, as the Reds actually came from behind to win that one. We trailed 4-1 at one point, came back and tied it up and sent it to extras and won it on the Barnes home run to left field in the 12th inning. 5 runs, 11 hits, 1 error, 12 left on for Cincy. The Astros had 4 runs on 16 hits, no errors, and 12 men stranded. John Franco wins his 4th without a defeat in relief. Julio Solano threw 1 pitch in the game, and that pitch left the premises. The pitch that he threw to Barnes made Solano a loser. For the second time, he's yet to taste the fruits of victory. Joe Niekro, Dave Smith, Frank DiPino, Bill Dawley all went for Houston. Jay Tibbs, another decent outing. He did allow 4 runs in 6 innings, allowed 9 hits, only 1 walk and 2 strikeouts. So a so-so outing, really the first what you could call semi-poor outing for Tibbs this season. Another no decision. He's still 2-0. Bob Ochinko threw 3 good innings of relief. Ted Power 1 inning. John Franco for 2 innings of shutout relief to get his 4th straight win. 3 hours and 31 minutes. That's 3:31 for that first game. A doubleheader crowd of 17,984 saw it. Paid attendance was 14,558 for the twilight twin bill at the stadium. The Reds had 3 homers in that game. I played the Barnes highlight in the 12th. Ronnie Oster also had a home run to deep right center field for his first of the year. I predicted that earlier, that he'd hit his first home run on that homestand, and I'm glad to see Oster didn't disappoint me. His first homer of the season. He had 11 last year for a career high. Finally gets his first this year. Gary Reedus had the first of the 3 homers for the Reds, his 7th of the season. Dave Parker, another RBI, his 63rd of the year. And the big blow was by Barnes, who was earlier sent up with the bases loaded and 1 out in the bottom half of the 9th inning with a chance to win it right there in regulation. But he bounced into a 5-2-3 double play, and they got him by an eyelash at first base on what appeared to be a terrible call by the umpire. But Barnes was called out. He had, he was the GOAT in that inning, hitting into the double play as a pinch hitter, but then, well, he wore the laurel of hero in the 12th with a big leadoff home run of Julio Solano to provide the Reds with their 4th consecutive win, longest winning streak in quite a while for the team. 5-4, again, is the final. 3 big home runs, and we've been powering some homers of late, and some biggies, too. That's another sudden death victory. The Reds have had something like 3 or 4 sudden death wins on the homestand. And I don't think any home runs hit. Nope, no home runs hit by Houston in that game. I did skip a home run by Kevin McReynolds. I knew I was going to miss something. I have 11 games to recap. I figured something would be omitted. I wanted to at least read off all the home runs. Kevin McReynolds had his 17th homer of the year. That was August 8th, and the Reds 4-2 win, 1 on the Foley home run. So keep in mind, McReynolds hit 1 out that night. In the second game of the Twin Bill on August 10th, the Astros 11 runs, 17 hits, 1 error. They left 11. The Reds had 7, 9, 1, and 7 left on. Bob Nepper, the winner, 11-8. Frank DiPino notched his 9th save. Frank Pastore loses. He's 3-7 as Pastore returned to the rotation. 2/3 of an inning is all he was able to go. He allowed 6 runs, 5 hits. Tommy Hume then came on and allowed 7 hits and 3 runs in 5 1/3. And then Brad Leslie and then Ted Power in relief. And following Bob Nepper was Dawley and then DiPino for 1 1/3, and he gets the save. 2 hours, 58 minutes, a long second game. And that doubleheader was not completed until 4 minutes past 1 Eastern Time. Sunday morning, or make that Saturday morning. And again, almost 18,000 see the doubleheader split. Nicky Saski knocked in 3 runs with a bases-loaded triple in a 4-run Reds third inning. Astros got out in front early with 6 biggies in the first off Pastore and never looked back. A game-winning RBI in the first for Jose Cruz, his 8th of the season. So that was not a very good second game, but the first game was worth the price of admission on the big homer by Barnes. Then on Saturday night, August 11th, pregame festivities abound at the stadium as the Reds retire the uniform number of Johnny Bench. Johnny Bench's number 5 will never be worn again. It was officially retired in pregame ceremonies on Saturday, August the 11th, before the 7:05 Reds-Astros game. And a plaque of Johnny Bench was installed outside the stadium for everyone to enjoy as they walk along the plaza level with Johnny's spike prints and his handprints in there. And everyone at the game got a replica of the plaque. Well, it wasn't a plaque; it's a piece of paper, is what it is. But it shows exactly what is on the plaque that is outside the stadium. That was a very nice memento for the fans, some 23,675 who attended that evening honoring Johnny Bench. It's reminiscent of Johnny Bench night last September when, ironically, also the Astros were in town and Bench hit a big home run, his last one as a Major League player. The Astros went on and won the game, spoiling the Johnny Bench night. 8-2 the final score. 8 runs, 10 hits, 2 errors, 8 left on for Houston. The Reds had 2 runs, 5 hits, 2 errors, and left 5. Mike Scott pitched a good game. 4 hits and 2 runs is all he gave up in 7 innings. He's 5-10. Joe Price takes a loss, his 9th in 14 decisions. He went 6 2/3, allowed 4 runs, only 1 of them earned, 6 hits, 6 strikeouts. John Franco, not a very good outing, 3 hits, 3 runs in 1 inning. He dished up a home run, only the second that he's allowed this year, and that was a pinch hit, 3-run home run hit by Jim Pankovitz, rookie Astros infielder, his first Major League home run. He was the star of the game. Jim Pankovitz takes Franco deep for his first homer. No game-winning RBI in that contest. Franco was followed by Ted Power for 1 1/3. 2 hours, 41 minutes for that game. Parker, another RBI. Oster, 1 for the Reds. And 23.5 or so thousand see the game and see Johnny Bench's uniform number officially retired before the contest. And so that brought us to the wrap-up to the series and final of the 14-game homestand on Sunday afternoon, August 12th, and that was watch day at the stadium. All kiddies 14 and under getting a watch. Thanks to the Reds and Frisch's Restaurants, the Astros won that game 6-1, so the Reds are not even able to finish over 500 on the stand, as the Astros beat us 3 straight times and take 3 of 4 in that series. Nolan Ryan had good stuff as he notched 11 strikeouts in 6 2/3 and pitched 4 hit ball to get his 10th win in 17 decisions. Frank DePino followed, no save. Andy McGaffigan loses it. He's 3-5, 0-1 as a Red. 5 innings, he allowed just 2 hits, 2 runs with 7 strikeouts and only 1 walk. A tough luck loss for Andy, who was obtained recently, of course, in the Dreesen deal from the Montreal Expos. And also Bob Ochinko and Ted Power worked in that game for Cincinnati. The Astros had 6 runs, 8 hits, no errors, and left 5. The Reds had a run on 5 hits, 1 error, and left 9. So the Reds limited to 10 hits and 3 runs in the last 2 games. 2 hours and 46 minutes for that one. Let me see. Any home runs? Yes, indeed. 2 Astros long balls. Terry Poole is 6th of the year for a game-winning RBI, is 5th. And Jose Cruz had his 7th of the season. 17,950 came through the turnstiles to see that ball game. And the Reds on the homestand for 13 dates averaged 15,107. A total of nearly 200,000 coming in to see those 14 games. 196,395 to be precise. The Reds win 7 and lose 7 on that stand. And the Astros have a good series against the Reds as they win 3 of 4. Well, and looking back through my various sheets of paper here, I find a couple of other home runs that I forgot to tell you about. Let me go back and take a look at them. Second game of the doubleheader on Friday, the Astros had 2 homers. Terry Poole, who I said had the game-winning home run on Sunday. Poole had his 5th of the year, game 2 Friday. And Jerry Mumphrey also belted a long ball. That's his 8th of the season. If I remember correctly, that was a tremendous blast into the second deck in right center field for Jerry Mumphrey. The Astros hit, looks like 5 homers in that 4-game series. And the Reds had 3 in the one game on Friday to win that one. So Houston wins it 6-1 on August 12, and then the Reds hit the road, but just for 3 games. Started off this series on Monday night, August 13th. Cardinals beat us 5-3 behind left-handed rookie Ricky Horton as he wins his 7th against 2 losses. 7 2/3 innings of good ball, 7 hits, 3 runs, 4 strikeouts. Bruce Sutter came on, he notched another save, his 31st of the year. That's only 6 away from the NL record. And he and Dan Quisenberry now tied with 31 saves apiece. Quizzy over there in the American League with Kansas City. Sutter continues to do it. A 1+ earned run average, 31 saves, 4 victories. And he beat Mario Soto, or Horton did. Soto goes down to his 6th loss against 12 wins. He had a so-so outing. He gave up 4 runs, 8 hits, and 6 innings with a walk and 5 strikeouts. Tommy Hume, 2 innings, a hit, a run, 2 walks, and 2 Ks. A game-winning run batted in for Chris Spire in a 4-run Cardinal 5th inning, and that's his 2nd game winner of the year. He was picked up midstream this year by the Cardinals from Montreal for Mike Ramsey, another infielder. No homers in that game. Willie McGee and Andy Van Slyke stole bases. Cardinals 5-9, 1-7. Reds 3-8, 1-7. The line score 2 hours 37 minutes. 23,803 saw the game. 18,440 was the paid figure. Nicky Saski 2 RBIs to give him 41. Eric Davis had 1 for the Reds. All those came in the 8th inning. The Reds lose the first of the series 5-3 on Monday night. And last night, which would be Tuesday, August the 14th, the Reds lose their 5th consecutive game, so they won 4 straight and have now lost 5 in a row. We'll hopefully snap that tonight. Cardinals 8, Reds 2, 10 hits apiece. The lone error was made by Cincinnati's Tom Foley. The Reds left 9, the Cardinals stranded 6. The winning pitcher, lefty Dave LaPointe, he's 9-9, nearly a complete game. 10 hits, 2 runs, 6 Ks, and 8 1/3. Jeff Lottie came out of the bullpen to nail it down. He did not get a save. Jeff Russell loses for the 13th time. He's won 5, so that's his 5th loss in his last 6 decisions. He only won 3 2/3, allowed 5 runs, 6 hits. Then Frank Pastore, 2 1/3, 4 hits, and 3 runs. And then rookie right-hander Ron Robinson in his Major League debut, 2 good innings of relief. LaPointe won the game despite some wildness, 10 hits, 3 walks, and 3 wild pitches, but he gets his 9th win. In fact, the Reds, one of the Reds' runs came in on a wild pitch, the Reds' 2nd run of the game in the 5th inning, as a man scored all the way from second on a wild toss by LaPointe. Nicky Saski got the Reds on the board in the 2nd inning after the Cardinals had already scored 5 in the 1st off Jeff Russell. Saski hit a mammoth home run to left field that was buried into the 2nd row of the upper deck at Busch Stadium, becoming only the 3rd player in the history of the park to hit one in the upper deck at that ballpark, and the first opposing player ever to do it. And it has not been done in some 18 years. The only 2 players that did it in 1966, and those are former Cardinals Orlando Cepeda and Mike Shannon. And Shannon's now a broadcaster in the Cardinal booth, and Saski showed the kind of power that he possesses. I remember a green seater he had to dead center last July off John Denny, and now he hits an upper deck blast at St. Louis last night to give him his 9th homer of the year and his 42nd RBI of the season. He's having a decent year run production-wise, but is still batting around that 200 mark. If he could get that average up more, he'd have even more impressive numbers if he could cut down on those strikeouts and hit more balls like he did in the 2nd inning last night. He got a hold of a 3-1 pitch and yanked it to left for an upper deck shot off of Dave LaPointe. And we were talking about upper deck homers. Saski has not yet reached the red seats at Riverfront, but according to Joe Nuxall last evening on the Reds Network, that would have been equivalent to a red seater. Joe seems to think it would have made the Crimson at Riverfront. And that is some poke indeed if you've ever been to that ballpark, and an upper deck shot at St. Louis certainly is no small feat. There have been 13 upper deck homers at Cincinnati, but only 3 now in the history of Busch Memorial Stadium, which goes back, I guess, to the early 60s sometime. It was not enough to win that game, however. George Hendrick knocked in the game winner, his 15th game winner of the season. That's 1st in the National League. 2 hours and 30 minutes to play it last night. A crowd of 19,545 paid their way to see it, and the total attendance was 22,001. Cardinals 8, Reds 2 to stretch the Reds' losing streak to 5. Let's go, Cincinnati. Final game under Vern Rapp coming up tonight. Pete Rose will take over on Friday. Let's go out on a winning note for Vern Rapp. What do you say? So that's it from my desk right now. I'll be back to take a look at this game in detail. I'll have to run through it quickly on side B. But right now we'll plug it in with August 15th action. Reds against the Cardinals. Wrap up to 3 at St. Louis.
Would be the Reds' 23rd one-run victory against 20 losses if they can win it. Hume in front of strike. Spire takes inside. 1-1. At 30 straight starts at shortstop before suffering the heel injury here night before last. It was last night that took him out of the lineup. Swung on ground ball third. Concepcion has it. Long throw to first. And this one belongs to the Reds. In the 11th inning, the Cardinals, no runs, 1 base hit, 1 man left on. The Reds win it in 11. Final score 3-2.
This is DVP back here at Reds Central, where we have all the figures compiled and ready to pass them along here concerning tonight's Reds 11-inning 3-2 win over the St. Louis Cardinals in the wrap-up to this series and road trip. The Reds win 1 of the 3 games, at least get out of town with 1 win after the Cardinals had won the first 2 games 5-3 and 8-2. The Reds finally get their first and what will be their only win at St. Louis in '84 as they finish at 1-5 at that facility this season. That was Marty Brenneman you heard calling that 11th inning action. A ground ball by Chris Spire to third baseman Davey Concepcion ended the ball game as he threw across the diamond to Isaski. And that ended it as the Reds win on a big 2-out clutch hit by Golden off a Suter in the 11th inning to push the winning run across. Cardinals had a golden opportunity to win it with runners at first and third, none out. In the 9th, they did get the tying run. They had the bases loaded with only 1 out and the tying run already in, but could not score the go-ahead as John Franco got tough, got the Reds out of that inning, sent it to extras, and the Reds win in 11 by a run. The total's 3 runs, 8 hits, no errors for Cincinnati. They left 9. The Cardinals had 2, 7, 1, and 7. The winner's Tommy Hume as he snaps a personal 8-game losing streak, the longest losing streak for a Reds pitcher in a couple of seasons, since Bruce Bereni in '82, I think. His first win since the 25th of May at Wrigley Field against the Cubs in part of a 3-0 shutout. He was pitched the first 5 innings in his first start since '79. Bruce Sutter takes the loss. He's 4-4. Brad Golden gets the game winner, his 4th of the year, and his 2nd against the Cardinals, and the 2nd time he's base hit Bruce Sutter for a game winner. He did it in a big Mario Soto win, as Soto lost that no-hitter back on May 12th, settled for a 1-hitter. Golden won the game for him in the bottom of the 9th on a single to right field, and that was off Sutter. And tonight he base hit Sutter with 2 out again to provide the Reds with another exciting victory. In this, the final game of Vern Rapp as manager of the Cincinnati Reds, it is almost official now that Pete Rose will take over on Friday. We can almost safely say that that's going to happen. He'll be announced as the manager tomorrow in a 4 p.m. press conference. This game took 3 hours, 12 minutes to play. That's my clocking as well. The attendance, 22,723 paid. Reds win in 11. And we went out on the right foot in the Vern Rapp regime here with a victory this evening as Tom Hume snaps his 8-game losing streak and the Reds snap their 5-game losing streak with the extra inning victory. Let me take a look at my personal data here for 27 games scored. Record is 13-14, a .481 percentage. Lifetime record of 212 and 157. That's .575. On cassette tape, 145 wins, 177 losses. This is lifetime game number 377. So far for this season, a road record of 9-7, in one-run games 7-6, and in extras now 3-3. So far for August, 2-1. And 3-4 since the All-Star game, 2-1 against the Cardinals, 1-1 closing out at St. Louis. The Reds have won 2 of my last 3, 8 of 16, 12 of 21. They have lost 4 of 6, 7 of the last 12. Lineups for this game for the Reds: Gary Reedus, center field, leading off, entering the game with a batting average of .266. Batting second at second base, Ron Oster. 14-game hitting streak on the line that he does extend with a double in the 10th inning. If it had not gone to extras, it would have been terminated. But now he gets it up to a 15-game hitting streak, matching his longest of his major league career. He also had 15 straight back in 1981, and this hitting streak is the longest since that time in '81. Longest on the club this year, last year, or the year before. Previously, the high was 12. As far as a hitting streak, last year Dreesen had a 12-gamer, and earlier this season, Dave Parker with a 12-game streak that was stopped by this Cardinal team. So Oster, 15 straight he's hit in. His average up to a season-high .242. Hitting third at third base, David Concepcion. He checks in with a .241 average. Dave Parker in right field in a bit of a slump now, down to .278. Hitting fifth at first base, Nicky Saski. He's batting him at a pace of .207. Next is Cesar Cedeno in left field, batting at .246. Brad Golden, the catcher, batting seventh. He's at .205. Tom Foley hitting eighth at shortstop, .235 average. And Jay Tibbs, the pitcher, batting ninth, hitting .067 with one base hit, and that came as a leadoff batter in the third inning in the July 25th game. He laid down a bunt and got a single out of that one. For the Cardinals, here's how they stack up offensively. Willie McGee leads off in center field, .286, 5 homers, 35 RBIs. Batting second baseman Tom Herr, .262, 3 and 31. Terry Pendleton, a rookie, at third base, batting third. Of course, they traded Ken Oberkville a month or two ago to Atlanta in that deal for Mike Jorgensen and Ken Daly, so Pendleton playing third now. He's hit safely in something like 22 of the 27 games that he's played, hitting .379 with 12 RBIs already. No homers. Batting fourth in right field is George Hendrick. He's had 8 homers, 57 RBIs, 15 of those game winners. He's only hitting .258, though. Andy Van Slyke out in left field. Lonnie Smith didn't start any games in this series. Van Slyke hitting at .238 with 5 homers, 35 RBIs. Darrell Porter batting sixth, then at .233. David Green, first base, batting seventh. He's got 10 homers. Batting eighth at shortstop, Bill Lyons. An RBI, a double, batting .048, recently recalled. Kurt Kepshire, the pitcher, formerly in the Reds organization. He's batting .071 with 1 hit and 14 at-bats. Kepshire was originally a Red, as he was drafted by the Reds in the 24th round of the amateur draft on June 5th, 1979. In 1982 in Indianapolis, in 5 games, he had no record. 83 at Louisville, 21 games. He was 6-2 with a .367 earned run average and 10 starts with 1 complete game. Recently got a recall from the Cardinals AAA team at Louisville, has compiled some good numbers through 7 starts, a 3-2 record and a .323 earned run average. Kepshire is a 25-year-old right-hander from Bridgeport, Connecticut, born in July of 1959, 6 feet 2 inches high, 195 pounds, a left-handed batter. He throws right-handed. Making his first ever appearance against the club that drafted him first, the Cincinnati Reds. In a roundabout fashion, you could say Kepshire was involved in that deal that brought the Reds Kelly Paris the final day of March last year. And, well, actually, the trade was for Jim Strychek, a young pitcher who has since gone to the Oakland A's system. But in a roundabout sense, Kepshire was in that trade. Kepshire was actually picked up by the Cardinals in the December '82 Major League Draft of Class AAA players at the winter meetings. And that means that they had to keep him on his roster. The Cardinals had to keep him on the roster for that whole season, I think. If they dropped him from the roster, the Reds can pick him up for half of the waiver price, $12,500. And the Reds apparently would have picked up Kepshire because the Cardinals did drop him from the roster. However, in order for the Reds to get Kelly Paris, a highly regarded infielder, the Reds thought so much of him that they released him. and, sold him to the White Sox, and the White Sox then released him. He's now in the Pirates system. I don't know what happened to him, but he's just fallen apart, apparently. He did play a few games for the Cardinals in 1982. But in order for the Reds to get Paris for Strychek, they also had to throw in the rights to Kepshire, so the Cardinals were able to retain Kepshire and then give up Paris to the Reds. So, and he was sort of the third man in that deal, although it doesn't show up in the transactions that way, but actually he was involved. Otherwise, the trade would not have gone through. So Kepshire against Jay Tibbs, two rookie right-handers going for their respective teams today. And let's go to the top half of the first inning. The Reds get a base runner on a 2-out, 4-pitch walk to Dave Concepcion, following a Gary Reedus ground ball to third and an Oster pop-up to shortstop. But Davey was stranded as Dave Parker, who was an ice cube of late. He had a ground ball to second. No runs, no hits. We left one. In the bottom of the first, Tibbs got off to a good start and an indication of things to come, and it's really a shame he couldn't have won this game. He's had 3 straight no-decision outings. Hasn't won since his 4th start when he was at a 1.71 ERA. He's still 2-0. Has deserved at least 5 victories. He could conceivably be 6-0 with, or maybe 6-1 with one bad outing he had. But he's escaped all the losses. He is still undefeated. Has done a fine job since being recalled from Wichita. Of course, Tibbs was in the Bruce Bereni deal 2 months ago today. Was sent down to Wichita. We also got Matt Bullinger and Eddie Williams in that deal. Turns out to be a good trade. Bereni hasn't done that great of a job of late for the Mets. He did a good job his first few games, although I will say he was part of a shutout yesterday, twirled by the Mets hurlers. And the second time he's been part of a shutout, he shut us out, in fact, his first game against us. And Tibbs has just been fantastic since going into the rotation and really replacing Bereni. He even took his uniform number right off of his back. And Tibbs had another good game today, but the old no decision comes up again as the Cardinals rally against him in the late innings and tie it, and he is not involved again. In the bottom of the first, McGee went down swinging on 3 pitches, as that was the first of a career-high 9 strikeouts in the game for Mr. Tibbs. He entered the game with only 10. He almost doubles his season output in 1 appearance. He got 2 in this inning. Terry Pendleton was called out on strikes on a 3-2 on a good pitch on the outside, in between a ground ball to second base. The Reds get a run in the second inning, and it looked like for a while that might stand up for a 1-0 win the way Tibbs was pitching. There were back-to-back walks on consecutive 3-2 pitches to Nicky Saski and Cesar Cedeno, and then Brad Golden came up, and he got a run in.
A line drive into left center base hit. Saski being waved around. Here comes a throw from Van Slyke. It's off mark. And an RBI single for Golden sends the Reds out in front 1-0 as Saski scores and Cedeno goes to second.
So Golden was the man of the hour for this ball game. He knocked in 2 of our 3 runs. He knocks in the first and the third one, and the third one was the big one in the 11th inning. And here he has a nobody out, 2-on single into left center field. Saski scores, Cedeno to second, Golden with his 25th run batted in. Still nobody out first and second, and after this, Kepshire is able to avoid any further damage. Foley went down on strike swinging, and Tibbs on the first pitch trying to bunt him along, trying to get his first sacrifice in the majors. He bunts into a double play, a line drive speared off the artificial carpet by David Green, the first baseman. He throws on to shortstop Bill Lyons, and they easily doubled up Cedeno, who was standing in between second and third, helpless. So a line drive bunt, double play on the first pitch, 3-6, that's it. 1 run, 1 hit, 1 left on. In the bottom of the second, Tibbs gets him in order again as he did in the third, so he went through the order once and no base runners. Perfect game through 3 is broken up on a double by McGee in the 4th. Hendrick, Van Slyke, Porter, ground ball 6-3, ground ball 4-3, fly ball to right. And that's that inning. That fly ball to right by Porter on the first pitch was a bit of a scary one. He sent Parker back, and then he came in a couple of steps and caught the shot. Looked like it might be a goner, and Porter likes to hit against us. Had a couple of game-winning home runs in the last 2 years against us at Busch Stadium. What do you say if we go to the third inning? The Reds lead off here with a double. And that is by Gary Reedus. On the first pitch, he doubled to left field. He would have been a dead duck at second if the throw by Van Slyke had been on the money. Reedus came in standing up, still was almost tagged down, and the throw that was offline. But he's in there with a 2-bagger, his 17th double of the year. But then he just sits there. Nobody gets him up. Oster looks at strike 3. Concepcion grounds to third, and Parker hits a fly ball to right field. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 left. In the bottom half of the third, David Green is called out on strikes. Lyons struck out swinging, and Kepshire struck out swinging, so a good inning for Tibbs. He strikes out the side, and he punches out 5 of the first 9 that he faces. That represents a career high for him already in strikeouts. He got Green on 3 pitches, Lyons on 3 pitches, and Kepshire on 6 pitches on a 3-2 delivery. So a quick and easy inning for Tibbs and an impressive one. In the top half of the 4th inning, Isaski, Cedeno, and Golden go down in the 4th. Fly ball to center on the first pitch by Isaski. Cedeno struck out swinging, trying to check his swing. It looked like he didn't go around, but they punched him out nonetheless. Golden popped up to third just fair to end the inning. In the bottom of the 4th, that leadoff double to left field, the 13th of the year by Willie McGee, breaks up any thoughts that Jay Tibbs might have had. They would have been premature, of course, but might have had thoughts of the no-hitter, but they're gone. Double by McGee. He moves up to third on a 4-3 ground ball hit by her, but just like the Reds in the 3rd, the Cards in the 4th waste the leadoff double as Pendleton hits a ground ball to shortstop, and this is a terrible piece of base running by McGee. He is cut off the bag at 3rd. Foley throws to Concepcion. They easily got him, coming back in, trying to get in the side door. But he's out easy, 6-5, so they lost 180 feet on the base paths there. Instead of a runner at 3rd, they got a man at 1st in Pendleton. He is left as Hendrick had a foul pop to 3rd base. And I don't know what he had in mind there, but there was no chance to score on that ball, and he was just easily cut off 3rd. McGee, no runs, 1 hit, and a like number left. In the top half of the 5th, the Reds out in order again as Kepshire mows them down, makes it 9 straight. Good pitching again in this game. The Reds and their opposition have been having some good pitching, save that Padres series when a ton of runs were scored, especially by the Reds as they won 3 of 4 last week. Foley hit a fly ball to center. Tibbs looked at a 3rd strike, and so did Reedus to end this 5th quickly. In the bottom of the 5th, again 1-2-3 for Tibbs and 2 more strikeouts. Van Slyke went down swinging. Porter did the same, and Green hit a ground ball to shortstop, and we're moving along through 5 innings. This game is only 73 minutes old. Let's now go to the 6th inning. And guess what? It's another 1-2-3 inning. This is 12 consecutive batters retired by Kepshire. And 14 of 15 as he gets Oster on a ground ball to second, Concepcion on a ground ball to short, Parker hit a ground ball to second. So Green gets 3 putouts. In the bottom of the 6th, no runs, a hit, 1 left for St. Louis. 2 outs, single to right on the first pitch to Willie McGee. He has the only 2 hits to this point for St. Louis. That came after a Bill Lyons ground ball to short and a Kurt Kepshire called 3rd strike. Then Tom Herr ended the inning with a foul pop to the catcher Golden. And Dave Concepcion almost bumped into Golden on that foul pop, but he got out of the way and let Brad make the catch. And now in the 7th inning, the pitcher helps himself. Jay Tibbs delivers with his first Major League RBI. Let's take a listen.
Kepshire has the sign from Darrell Porter. He sets, looks back at Cedeno, delivers, and it's swung on and that's into right field. Here comes Cedeno. The ball is bobbled, and, well, we got it wish. The first RBI as a major leaguer for Jay Tibbs, and it's a 2-0 ball game. Moving around the 3rd is Tom Foley as Hendrick bobbled the baseball, but credit Tibbs with an RBI, or, well, I think an RBI. We'll wait and see. But nevertheless, his second base hit. And they say no error, so Jay does get an RBI, and it's a 2-0 ball game with Foley now at 3rd base and 2 out.
So Jay Tibbs helps himself in this situation. A big 2-out first pitch single into right field, his second major league hit and his first run batted in. The first batter up in this 7th was Nicky Saski, and he looked at a 3rd strike. Then Cedeno started it off with a single into left field, and then he stole a base, his first of 2 on the game. A ground ball back to the pitcher by Golden did not move Cedeno to 3rd. He's still at 2nd with 2 down for Foley. They intentionally walked him to get to Tibbs. That was a mistake, as Tibbs hit the first pitch over the leaping glove of the second baseman Herr into right field or right center. And that scored Cedeno from 3rd. The ball was bobbled, but no error. Foley goes around to 3rd, and it's 2-0 Reds on that 2-out hit. Then Gary Reedus on the first pitch to him hit into a forced play 6-4 to get Tibbs. 1 run, 2 hits, we leave 2. So it's not 2-0, and that looks comfortable the way Tibbs is pitching. He throws shutout ball again in the 7th. A Terry Pendleton line drive to left. I think Cedeno had some problems with the lights there, but he was able to pull it down. Hendrick had a fly ball to center field, and Van Slyke grounded out. First baseman Isaski to the pitcher covering. No runs, no hits there, and now we go to the top half of the 8th inning. And nothing doing here. Final inning for Kepshire. He gets the Reds in order in 4 of his 8 innings. And that's not right either. 1, 2, 3. It looks like 3 innings in the game. He got him 1, 2, 3, including this 8th. Oster hit a line drive to left on the first pitch. He hit that one back to the track, caught by Van Slyke. Good backhanded catch. Concepcion hit a ground ball to shortstop again, and Parker struck out Sweeney. He's been struggling. That's the 4th straight time he's ended innings, and he's Saski's leadoff batter each and every time up, with the exception of his final one, when he came up with 1 out. No runs, no hits. Into the bottom half of the 8th inning, and the Cardinals get a run off Tibbs. A leadoff single, bouncing ball into center by Darrell Porter. They had a couple of seeing eye hits in this game, otherwise the Reds would have won it 2-1 in regulation, or possibly 2-0. Bouncing ball single, looks like an Astros hit here. Porter gets a single. Strikeout Sweeney then of David Green, and then Mike Jorgensen comes up to bat for Lions. Jorgensen's been well-traveled in the major leagues, formerly with the... Oh, good heavens, Montreal Expos once or twice, the New York Mets, the Texas Rangers, the Oakland A's, I think the Mets twice, yes, and this season Atlanta and St. Louis. Obtained June 14th or June 15th. He draws a walk here. Tito Landrum runs for him. Landrum picked up, I think, for Jose Brito, former Reds reliever, before the season started. Landrum's been around his second tour of duty with St. Louis. Landrum at first, Porter at second base, 1 out for Steve Braun, left-handed batting pinch hitter. Hitting for Kepshire. He does his thing, a single into center, and I think that was a dribbler that just got by Foley, but it got the job done. Porter scores from second base. The pinch runner Landrum goes around the third. First and third, 2-1 game. Then McGee hits into a double play, and they had to turn this one quickly. Otherwise, they would have tied the game. 6-4-3, a photo finish at first. We might have got a break there from the first base umpire, Billy Williams, as he said safe. He said out. He said out. McGee is gone. No real big arguments there. Nobody was throwing any tantrums, but I gotta believe they were upset that he was called out, because it looked like a dead tie. A good pivot by Oster, who's a good pivot man over there. 6-4-3, we get our lone double play of the game, and we turn our 80th of the year at extremely and incredibly low total. Well, they get a run, 2 hits, leave 1. 2-1 game going to the 9th inning, and the Reds are retired in order here by right-handed and former Red Jeff Lottie, who was involved in another Jose Brito deal with Bob Shirley back in April of '82. He was a touching bases guest this evening with Marty Brenneman, talking about his days in the Reds system and several good days in the Reds organization. Lottie comes on and gets Isaski on a tapper to the pitcher, Cedeno on a fly ball to right, and Golden on a 3-2 hit a ground ball to shortstop. And then the Cardinals tie it in the 9th inning. Immediately, Tibbs is in boiling water, as Herr has an infield single. Guess what? Another dribbler. This one is a supreme dribbler. It doesn't even get out of the infield. Concepcion tried to barehand it, couldn't make the play, so it's a single. Then Pendleton has a solid single into right field, as Herr goes around to third base. That's it for Tibbs. And Vern Rapp, who is now former manager of both of these teams, the St. Louis Cardinals and Cincinnati Reds. It's quite ironic that he is fired at St. Louis, or technically tomorrow, when the Reds come back home, actually. But, of course, he was fired as manager of the Cardinals, April of '78, now fired in August of '84 as manager of the Reds. As Rapp comes out, takes out Tibbs in favor of Power, and Power strikes out Hendricks swinging. Then Pendleton steals a base, his 8th of the year, first of 2 in the game. Then they intentionally walk Andy Van Slyke to get to a pinch hitter, or actually get to Darrell Porter. But the pinch hitter, Lonnie Smith, comes up to bat when a pitching change is made. Franco relieves Power on a 3-2 pitch. Lonnie Smith walks on a tight pitch. That could have been called a strike, but he calls it a ball that forces in the tying run. Herr from third base. Bases loaded, only 1 out. Winning run at third, but they can't get him in. Green hit a ground ball to shortstop. That goes 6-2. They got the force of Pendleton at home. And then pinch hitter Tom Nieto, batting for Lottie, struck out swinging against Franco. Good job by him to come back and get those final 2 outs. 1 run, 2 hits, they left 3, and we go to extras for the second straight time in my games. In the 10th inning, the Reds had back-to-back 2-out hits from Eddie Milner, a single to right field, and Ron Oster, a double to right field, a bouncing ball over the head of the first baseman. Turnabout's fair play. We get a bouncing ball hit. That went completely over the head of Green to extend Oster's hitting streak to 15 and give him his 16th double of the year. That moves Milner to third, and you could see Milner wasn't running full steam. It didn't look like. Looked like he might have been having some problems there. Of course, he's been weak from the hepatitis, and maybe can't run at full tilt. I don't know, but he kind of lagged into third, it looked like to me. Second and third, 2 out for Davey Concepcion. He hit the ball hard, but it was right at the center fielder. That's the inning. The first 2 batters in this inning were Foley and pinch hitter Krenchicki. They went down on a strikeout and a ground ball 4-3, respectively. Chickie now 5 for 25 in a pinch hit mode. He's 32. The Reds are 32 for 182 as pinch hitters, and that is an anemic 176 pinch average. Perez 6 for 29 leads at 207. The Reds have had 1 homer, 10 RBIs as pinch hitters this season. And Krenchicki, no RBIs, 1 double in that capacity. So, no runs, 2 hits, 2 left in the 10th. Bottom half of the 10th inning we roll to now, and it is another pitcher. Tommy Hume comes on, and I almost threw the book out the window here. Tom Hume has lost so many games in these situations in sudden death, but he rises to the occasion, does a good job in this game. I thought sure it was going to be a defeat. But no, I am pleasantly surprised here as he gets them in order in the 10th. Art Howe, who came on to run for Braun in the 8th inning, and stayed in to play shortstop. Not really a shortstop, but he's in. He's played all infield positions, I think, this year. First, second, short, and third. He hits a fly ball to right field. McGee then struck out swinging. Herr hit a ground ball to second, so a good 10th for Hume. In the top half of the 11th inning, the Reds win the game after the first 2 batters and our 2 big guns in the order had struck out. Parker and Esaski, who lead the team in homers, they total for 20. 20 home runs on the season, but they both strike out swinging here, Parker and Esaski. That brought Cedeno to the plate. He kept the inning going off of Bruce Suter. That was Suter pitching that 10th inning as well when Oster had the double with 2 out and Concepcion flied out. Suter pitching his 2nd inning, gives up a 2-out single to right center by Cedeno. Then he steals a base, his 2nd of the game. That gives him his 9th stolen base of the year. He's only been thrown out on 1 occasion. He's 4th on the team in stolen bases. The Reds 122 steals now, 3rd in the league. Cardinals lead the league in steals. The Reds have only been thrown out 51 times. Reed has 41 stolen bases to lead the team. That ties the high water mark for last season as well when Milner had 41. Reedus now with a new career high by 2 of 41 stolen bases. So Cedeno's at second base for Brad Golden, and Golden, like in the 2nd inning, well, here in the 11th, gets the job done.
1-0 the count of the Reds catcher. He lines one into center field, base hit. Cedeno rounds third. Here comes Willie McGee's throw to the plate. It is going to be not in time. Golden with a base hit. Ball gets away from Nieto, and Brad goes to second. And Cincinnati has taken a 3-2 lead.
Well, way to go, Brad. As the Minnesota native picks up his 2nd RBI of the game, his 26th of the year, his 4th game-winning ribby, his 2nd against Bruce Suter, and the Cardinals did it on May 12th at Riverfront. Now comes back, well, some 3 months later and tortures Suter some more. Big base hit into center field. McGee swept in, cut it off. They had him play toward right center. The throw was a little bit offline, and it was a little bit up the third base side, but easily, well, catchable by Nieto, but he let the ball get through. It scored as an error on the center fielder. That's the original scoring decision, E8. I don't know if that's going to be changed later or what, but right now we have an error on the center fielder. And so that's a single for Golden, a run batted in. He goes to second on the error. And that brings Foley to the plate. They intentionally walk him for the 2nd time, and then Tom Hume comes up to bat for himself. He hits into a force play. Third baseman made the play and stepped on the bag to get a force. 1 run, 2 hits, 1 error, but the run is earned. 2 runners left on base. In the bottom half of the 11th inning, they get a leadoff hit here by Terry Pendleton, his 2nd straight hit, single into left field, then a foul pop to third by Hendrick, a big out to get that big guy taken care of. He was 0 for 5. Then a stolen base for Pendleton, his 2nd of the game, his 9th of the year. And Pendleton hasn't been up very long. He was recently recalled. I think he was a Double-A Arkansas last year, had only 7 stolen bases all of that season, but he has picked up 9 already in some 25 to 30 games played with St. Louis. And 2 in this game. So he's in scoring position for Van Slyke with 1 out. Good job by Tommy Hume as he gets Van Slyke on a 3-2 pitch to pop up to short. Then he ended the game by getting Chris Spire, newcomer to the Cardinals, who was batting for Suter, to hit a ground ball to third base. Easy play for Concepcion. He took his time, threw on to Esaski. They got Spire easily at first to end the game, end the series, and end the road trip and give the Reds the 3-2 victory. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 left on for the Cardinals in that final inning. Reds win it, snapping the 5-game losing streak. The umpires for the game: behind the plate, Charlie Williams; first base, Billy Williams; second base, Jerry Davis; third base, Fred Brocklander. Starting time was 8:39 p.m. Cincinnati time. Weather today at St. Louis: clear, sunny skies. Winds from the southwest didn't help much to cool down the 91-degree high. Low tonight of 71 degrees. The Reds have now won 5 of their last 10 games. They've still lost 9 of 15 and 27 of the last 39. The Cardinals have won 2 of 3 and 3 of their last 5 games. And they had the brief 2-game win stretch stopped by the Reds tonight. And now it's time to sort out the players. Take a look at the final data for these guys. Total of 32 players in this game. 18 players used. by St. Louis. And the Reds used 14 players. Cardinals going with 3 pitchers. The Reds used 4 moundsmen tonight. The Reds playing their 121st game, and again, the final game under Vern Rapp. He'll have a 51-70 record as a manager this year. That's a .421 winning percentage. 21 back we are. The Padres in 5th place. Still a couple of games ahead of San Francisco in the West. Number 2, Gary Reedus in center field, 1 for 4. And a late entry, number 20, Eddie Milner out there in center, 1 for 1. Number 16, Ron Oster, second base, stretched that hitting streak out with his last chance double, 1 for 5. Number 13, Dave Concepcion at third base, 0 for 4. And you kind of wonder when Pete Rose gets in there Friday if he's going to switch some of these people around. I got a feeling Concepcion's going to be playing a lot more shortstop when Rose gets in there, because I don't think Rose will consider Concepcion a third baseman. I don't know, maybe he will, but of course in the olden days, the left side of the infield was made up of Concepcion and Rose. After 75, 76, 77, 78, it was like that. And Davey might be moved back to shortstop when Rose goes to the helm on Friday. We'll have to wait. Concepcion 0 for 4 tonight. Number 39, Dave Parker in right field batting fourth. A struggling type of day, 0 for 5 for him. And Parker hasn't been very successful of late. He's only 1 for his last 22 at the plate. Has still hit safely in 10 of his last 17. And tops the team in RBI, 64. Home runs with 11. Total bases, 181. Hits, 126. At-bats, 458. He's got a .395 slugging average, a .275 batting average. And an earlier 12-game hitting streak. Has still had 9 RBIs in his last 10 games. A good year shaping up for Parker. Hope he can turn this around under Rose on Friday. 0 for 5 today. He's at least, well, it must be about 0 for his last 10 now. 1 for 22 slump. Next in the order is first baseman Nicky Saski, number 12, 0 for 4 with a run scored. And you wonder also if Saski might swing back over to play third when Rose goes in there. Some of these things that Vern Rapp did just didn't work out at all. And, well, we'll just have to wait and see where these guys are going to end up playing. Saski, 0 for 4, 1 run. Next is Cesar Cedeno in left field, number 28. 2 for 4, good day for him. 2 steals, 2 runs. Number 4, Brad Golden, the catcher. 2 for 5, knocked in 2. He's the star of the game tonight with Joe Nuxel. Number 10, Tom Foley, shortstop, 0 for 3. Number 38, Jay Tibbs, pitch, 1 for 3 with a big RBI. Number 48, Ted Power, pitcher. Number 31, John Franco, pitcher. Number 15, Wayne Krenchicki, pinch hit, 0 for 1. Number 47, Tom Hume, reliever, 0 for 1. The Reds had 8 hits, 40 at-bats, 3 runs, 3 RBIs. And now for St. Louis, its line looks like this for the 119th game of the year for that team. They're 59-60. They fall back to 1 under at 496. 10.5 games back of the Cubs in 4th place. The Cards are in the Eastern Division, just 2 years ago world champions. Number 51, Willie McGee in center field. He was 2 for 5. Number 28, Tom Hurd, second base, 1 for 5 with a run. Number 9, Terry Pendleton at third base, 2 for 5 with 2 steals. Number 25, George Hendrick in right field, 0 for 5. So both cleanup hitters went 0 for 5 in the game. Both playing right field, Parker and Hendrick. Number 18, Andy Van Slyke in left field, 0 for 4. Number 15, Darrell Porter, catcher, 1 for 3 with 1 run. Number 27, Lonnie Smith, pinch hitter, 1 walk and an RBI. Number 42, Bruce Sutter, pitcher. Number 5, Chris Spire, pinch hit, 0 for 1. Number 22, David Green, first base, 0 for 4. Number 30, Bill Lyons at shortstop, 0 for 2. Number 19, Mike Jorgensen, pinch hitter, 1 walk. Number 21, Tito Landrum, pinch runner. Number 32, Jeff Lottie, pitcher. Number 23, Tom Nieto, pinch hit, catch, 0 for 1. Had his first Major League home run against the Reds earlier this year. Number 50, Kurt Kepshire, pitcher, 0 for 2. Number 26, Steve Braun, pinch hit, 1 for 1 with 1 run batted in. Number 7, Art Howe, pinch runner, shortstop, 0 for 1. 39 at-bats with 7 hits for the Cards, 2 runs, and 2 RBIs. Now we got some pitching lines here. Let me see if I can scrape these things together as we go to the pitching data. For Jay Tibbs, 8+ innings, pitched to a couple of batters in the ninth. He allowed 6 hits, almost had his second complete game, 2 runs, both earned. He walked 1 and struck out 9 batters. Good job for Tibbs. His ERA goes up 1 point. He's now at 2.18. He's 2-0 with a complete game and a shutout in 7 starts. Has allowed 3 homers, has allowed only 39 hits and 13 walks in 53 2/3 innings. Some good ratios there. He has struck out 19. So for the first time in his career, his strikeout total is higher than the walk total. It was higher by 8 tonight, so it's higher by 6 on the year now. So A good line for Jay Tibbs, 2-0, 2.18, his first ever game against St. Louis. Ted Power, 1/3 of an inning, no hits or runs with a walk. That was intentional. He struck out 1. Powers made a Major League leading total of 62 appearances now. He's been involved in a shutout. He has 7 wins, 4 saves, 5 losses, a 3.09 ERA. 87 and a third innings, 74 hits, 30 runs, only 3 homers. He's walked 41, has fanned 65. Next is John Franco, 2/3 of a frame, no hits, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Franco's at 277. He's 4-0 with 4 saves in 42 games. He's allowed only 2 homers, 59 hits, 24 runs, and 61 2/3. He's walked 27 and has struck out 45. Tom Hume, 2 good innings. I'm glad to report a good outing for Hume. I can't remember the last time that happened. I haven't scored a Hume victory in a long while. His 4th win of the year, 2 innings, 1 hit, no runs with 1 strikeout. Gets his ERA down to 5.44. Not exactly a huge drop. He's 4-12, stopping that 8-game losing streak. He had gone a long string of games without anything. He's had 3 saves forever, 1 combined shutout, 8 starts, no complete games, 41 appearances. He's allowed a dozen home runs, 92 2/3 innings, 118 hits. 66 runs, 35 walks, 52 strikeouts. Walks and strikeouts aren't too bad, but 118 hits and 90-plus innings, my lands. For the Cardinals, Kurt Kebshire, 8 good innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, both earned. He walked 4, 1 intentionally. No gopher balls given up. He struck out 7. Jeff Lottie, 1 inning. Bruce Sutter, 2 innings, 4 hits, a walk, intentional, 1 run earned. He struck out 3. Let's take a look at Sutter's numbers. Look at these. Came in at 139. He leaves the park at 146 on the ERA. He's 4-4 in 52 appearances. 31 of those he has saved. Has allowed 6 homers, 92 and a third innings, 83 hits, 17 runs, 18 walks is all, and he struck out 59. Jeff Lottie's been in 48 relief appearances with 1 save, 3 wins, 2 losses, and a 3.25 ERA. He's allowed 5 home runs, 51 hits, 24 runs, 22 walks, and 37 strikeouts in 63 2/3 frames. As for the starter, Kurt Kebshire, in his first game against the Reds, his overall line, 3-2 record with a 3.09 ERA. He's done a good job for 9 games, 8 starts, no complete games. He's allowed 45 hits and 24 runs in 55 1/3 innings, 3 homers. He has walked only 18, that's 3 per 9 innings. He has struck out 41 batters this season. Here's a batch of compiled statistics if you want to jot these down. RBIs for Golden, Tibbs, Braun, and Lonnie Smith. And both of the RBIs for the Cardinals were pinch hit runs batted in, by the way, on a single and a walk. Golden gets the game-winning RBI, number 4. Doubles by Reedus, Oster, McGee, no triples, no homers. Stolen bases, Cedeno, Pendleton, each had a pair. An error by McGee, double plays, Cardinals 1, and the Reds 1. The Reds, in the game, had 3 runs on 8 base hits with no errors. St. Louis, 2 runs on 7 hits with 1 error. Tom Hume wins at 4-12. Sutter loses at 4-4. Time of the game, 3:12. Attendance, 25,505 total. And close to 23,000 paid their way into the stadium. Pretty good crowd to see the 11-inning Reds victory. Reds now 9-6 in extra inning games. They're 23-20 in 1-run games. 1-2 on the road trip, 23-40 on the road. So far in August, they put together 7 wins in 16 games. They won only 8 of 27 all of last month. And the Reds have won 12 of 34 since the All-Star game. They're now 34-51 in games under the lights. And against right-handed pitchers, 36-46. Against the East, 25-31. The Reds now with 51 victories, 18 complete games, 4 shutouts, and still with 16 saves. The Reds are 3-6 against the Cardinals this season. A team batting average of .237, last in baseball. Team slugging average of .350. Team ERA at .422. So Pete Rose inherits some not too good-looking statistics on Friday. Last in pitching, I think, or next to last. Last in team batting, probably last in slugging. Reds have 971 hits. We're probably last in saves as well. One of the lower teams on the totem pole in shutouts and saves, and, in the standings in 5th place. We have 80 home runs, 411 RBIs. The Reds have scored 450 runs, averaging 3.7 per game. 276 extra base hits. Parker, in addition to all the other things he leads in, has 22 doubles to top the team. The leader last year had 24. Householder. The Reds on this road trip had a 5 ERA and a .234 batting average. On the last homestand, had a decent 3.45 ERA with 5 complete games and 2 shutouts and 133 innings. But they only batted .217 with 100 hits in 14 games, and they scored 53 times. And now we'll have a glance at the scoreboard to finish out this broadcast. Has covered a lot of things here on this cassette. Taking a look at a lot of games that I didn't score at the front portion of the tape, and then recapping this exciting Reds 3-2 victory. Of course, talking about Pete Rose's return to the Queen City, this time as player-manager. The August 15th scoreboard looks like this. In the National League East, the Cubs lead by 2.5 over the Mets. The Cubs are 70-50. In the West, the Padres by 9.5 over Atlanta. The Pods are 71-48. In the American League East, Detroit leads by 9 over Toronto, 78-43 for Sparky's Tigers. In the West, Minnesota up there by 1.5 over California. Twins are 62-56, a surprising team here in 84. No rainouts in the major leagues, a lot of final scores here. Everybody, it looks like, was in action. In the American League, we'll take a look at these final scores. Detroit won big over California 8-3. Home runs by Doug DeCinces, Freddie Lynn. 33,940 saw that game as Dan Petrie won his 15th game of the year. In 10 innings, Texas shaved Chicago's White Sox 6-5. A lot of home runs. Harold Baines got his 22nd. Carlton Fisk also hit one. Greg Walker having a great year for the Sox at his 16th, and Larry Parrish belted one for Texas. He's got 20. Charlie Huff won his 13th. He went 9. Dave Schmidt got his 8th save. 28,982 at Chicago. At Kansas City, the Royals mauled the Red Sox to the tune of 13-8. A 7-run 6th and a 4-run 8th. A 15-hit attack. Hal McRae, an ex-Red and a former Pete Rose teammate. 4 for 5, 3 runs, and a like number of runs driven home. Home runs for Dwight Evans, Don Slott, and Tony Armas, who's got 33 now. And let's see here. Save for Quisenberry, number 31, same as Suter. 23,176 at KC for that big victory. There was a doubleheader at Cleveland. The Indians tore apart the Blue Jays in the first game with 3 consecutive 3-run innings to close out that game, in addition to a 6-run third. 16-1. 19 hits for Cleveland. Good gracious, look at this day for Andre Thornton. 3 for 4, knocked in 3. George Vukovich, 3 for 5, knocked in 4. Brooke Jacoby, 3 for 3, knocked in 2. Jerry Willard, 2 for 5, knocked in 3. Big day for everybody. The winner, Don Schulze, former Cub, pitched an 8-hitter, struck out 1, walked 1. He's 2-4. The second game, in 4 hours and 23 minutes, also went to Cleveland in 13 innings. And that was the final score of 4-3 on a Joe Carter game winner who drove in all 6 runs in a Cleveland victory last week with a 2-run homer and a grand slam. And there were home runs by Tony Bernazard, Jerry Willard, and Jesse Barfield in that doubleheader. 6,101 saw the doubleheader sweep for Cleveland over the Blue Jays. At Baltimore, the A's beat the Orioles 6-1. Carney Lansford a home run to stretch a hitting streak to 18 straight. The winner was Young all the way, 6-1. 16,249 at Baltimore. Milwaukee played at Minnesota, and the visitors beat the Twins 8-4 on a Robin Yount game winner. 32,956 at the Metrodome. New York beat Seattle 3-2 at Yankee Stadium. 20,189 saw that game. It's a home run by Rick Manning also for the Brewers in that Brewers-Twins game. We'll take a look at National League happenings right now. Montreal beat San Francisco 8-3. Dan Dreesen, 2 for 5, scored 2. Dan Schatzeder got his second game-winning RBI of the year. He went 3 for 3. He won the game his 6th. So he appears to be a pretty good hitter. 7,991 at San Francisco. Home runs for Tim Wallach. Max Venable is first since being recalled. He hits his first, ironically, against his former Giants team. He's now with Montreal. And also Jeff Leonard, a home run. At Atlanta, in a late afternoon game, Atlanta 7, Pittsburgh 3 with a 6-run first inning. No homers. 12,957 on hand at Atlanta. And the Mets beat the Dodgers at Los Angeles in front of 42,099, 3-2. Home run for George Foster, number 18, and Dave Anderson hit one. Fernando Valenzuela loses his 14th. Sid Fernandez, former Dodger, wins his 4th. At San Diego, Padres in the bottom of the 9th won a game over Philadelphia 4-3. Home run for Kevin McReynolds and Steve Garvey and Mike Schmidt. 21,078 saw that game. And at Houston, it was the Astros 6 and the Cubs 2. 19,999 saw that one. And once again, repeating the final score from Bush Memorial Stadium in St. Louis tonight, the Reds in 11 defeat the Cardinals 3-2 in front of a total crowd of 25,505 in a 3-hour and 12-minute ball game. Until next time, so long for now. This is DVP reporting.